So we have understood how single inheritance differs with multiple inheritance, as deriving one or more subclasses from a single base class is single inheritance. But when you go for multiple inheritance, it is different, right? We go for deriving subclasses from multiple parent classes. That's where mother and father into child in the exam in the previous videos and the example. And we have also seen how does overriding happens when we try to create constructing the subclass method and try to access superclass method. You can also try for multiple inheritance. That's where you understand it's pretty interesting. Now let's go for the third type, which is the final type of inheritance, which is multi-level inheritance, which means we can go for accessing the features of base class and derived class into the new class, which is another new derived class. Something like here we are taking example of class 1, 2, 3. So for class 2 of class 1, that is basically class 2 is your child class and class 1 is parent class. But now we are taking class 3 of class 2. That means we are going level by level again. So here class 3 is grandchild, class 2 is child, class 1 is parent. That's where parent, child, grandchild. You can take in that way, right? That is multi-level. We go by level example. So that is where multi-level inheritance differs. So for that, let's take an example of understanding how we use this. So as usual, we'll be using the same shell which we have used. So now let's understand the usage of multi-level, because so for this I'll be taking a well-known things which are people, which are whether it is animals or plants or anything. So make it real when you create a class, so that other person who reads the program will be understanding it. So what I do is I create an animal class, and in that I'll go for dog, and I create another class which is puppy. So dog belongs to animal class, obviously. Even puppy belongs to animal class. That's where we inherit the properties from main, that is parent, child, grandchild. So let's make it very simple. So this is multi-level. Always believe it level by level. Multi-level is different and multiple is different. Multiple inheritance, you can have, see, multiple parent classes and single child class. When you go for multi-level, I'll make it simple. So when I go for class of animal, so this is demo. So that I make it as demo 4. You can write any dog string, it's up to you. And I define a method which is speak method. So when I go for define speak of, I don't want to write any constructor or any class method. I'm making it very simple. You can try your own way, but you should understand the logic, how we are able to access the methods. That is very, very important. So in speak method, what do animals do? Animals hunt and animals speak, right? But we people, we can talk, but animals can make sounds, right? That's where we differ from animals. Even we have originated from animals, we differ from animals in the way. So now I define another class which is dog. So here child class dog will obviously inherit from animal class when you give class dog of animal. That is the reason I'm writing it before only. Class child class dog inherits the base class, which is nothing but animal, because here animal will be base class when you define class dog of, you define class dog of animal. So that's how we are taking. You can take this as single inheritance as of now, but when you declare one more method where you try to derive the properties of dog, right? So I define the method name is bark, because dogs will bark, right? It's simple, because I'm just making it realistic to make you understand. So now what I do is I just define it as dog is barking. So it's dog barking. It's fine. So as of now, when you define f is equal to dog and you try to access it, it's simple for you. When you access the directory of f, you could see the methods which are bark. You can think this as single inheritance as of now when you access the methods, and if you have dot speak, that's what we have defined. But how does that differs? Let me make it simple for you. So when you create one more derived class, now I'll just keep this as comment. You create one more class because dog is having its puppy, right? So child class dog child, or child class dog child or puppy. Let's make it as puppy. It will be simpler for you when you relate it, right? So it is inheriting the properties from child class dog, because dog is already child class of animal. Now we are making puppy to inherit the properties of dog class. So now dog will be parent to puppy class, but dog will be child to animal class. Right? It's simple, right? That's what happens in real life scenarios. Because all dogs are animals and all puppies are also animals, but they belong to dog class. Make it realistic. That's how you understand the logic. So I define class of puppy, but where do I take it here? I take it here dog. I'm not taking animal because already the animal method speak, animal class method speak is inherited here because obviously you are calling dog. So now you define one more method, whether if you want to eat, just define how it is eating. So define eat method and I define a simple print statement. So puppy is eating bread, let's say for the funny sake, it is eating bread. And now when I create an instance for only puppy class, so I just define d is equal to puppy. So when I define instance for the puppy class, you see. So obviously you expect directory of G, you could see eat method, but you're also seeing speak method also, which is from animal class. You could see it method directly as it is puppy of dog. You can also see bark method. That's what good thing is with multi-level. When you go for f dot eat, sorry, it's g dot eat, sorry, it's not f, it's g dot eat. You could see eating bread and g dot speak, you should see. When you go for g dot bark, you should see dog is barking. And when you go for g dot speak, you could clearly see animal speaking. So that's where you are going level by level. You need not define. Even what happens if I define animal here? So let's execute this. When you go for directory of G, bark, eat, speak, and G dot, first thing is you just go for eat, you see eating bread, and G dot bark, you should see dog barking, and G dot speak, you are getting same result, right? Because it is already inheriting the properties, you need not mention it here. That's where you find the difference from single, multiple, multi-level. So obviously without declaring here you can access it. But if you don't pass animal method here, now you see the difference. If I go for directory of G, I could see only bark and eat. If I access speak here, it will throw an error. Puppy object is no attribute speak because you have not mentioned dog is taking properties from animal class. So that's where you find differences. So in that way, you should relate how single inheritance, multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance are differing. So when I go for multi-level, I go level by level. That is features of parent and child, and we are creating one more child class inheriting the properties from child. You can take father, child, grandchild. In that way you can relate. That becomes very much easier when you start working on multi-level inheritance.